Yo, what it do, y'all? It's your man Mike Ty, the gaming savant, with my homeboy Dom, and we are here giving y'all our top 10 games of 2022. Another year, another gaming year, which is better, but we all know that there's a lot of stuff coming in 2023. How did you feel about the games that came out this year, Dom?
Pretty good. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, compared to like the 2021 list, I would say that this one was a little bit better when it comes, like the PS5 and the Xbox Series X games, because I think that was like the main thing that was really missing, from the year before. But like you said, we starting to get, we started to see more of them come out, but I think this year, that's when we really gonna like kind of start to see them, use the consoles a little bit more, especially with them starting to complain about having to, make games for the Series S and stuff like that. So fingers crossed that stuff don't get delayed, because we know how that is. But yeah, last year was pretty good. I mean, as they'll find out when they hear about your list.
Yeah, I would call myself a game hopper this year, because there's a lot of games that I started, didn't finish, tried, loved for like 2 weeks and never went back to. So definitely something I'm going to be working on this year to try to be more efficient with games, concise, have more than like 5 games that I beat in a year, which I think that's what I had this year. And I think 3 of those were games from 2021 that I didn't finish in January. So, but we still played, so that's how we go with that. We'll start with honorable mentions. I'll let you go first since my list is a bit long in the tooth.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Okay. So first off will be Sifu. You know what I'm saying? I think that game had like a lot of people in the chokehold when it first came out. I mean, just the concept of it alone, the fact that you get older every time you die, like you get stronger and you get more knowledge, but it's gonna take way less hits to kill you. So I'm not gonna lie, I didn't beat it. I think I probably got like to the spot after the club, and then after that, I just kept getting whooped after that. Eventually they added like a difficulty mode, but I ain't want to do all that because that kind of defeats the purpose of Sifu. But yeah, Sifu was an honorable mention. WWE 2K22, I gotta give them a shout out because considering the cluster that was 2K20, they did a real good job of like, coming back and, bringing that fun back. It kind of made me feel like playing like 2K19, which was like the last best one. So the future is looking bright for the franchise of WWE 2K. I ain't gonna talk about the actual WWE, consider what's going on right now, but the video game wise, it looked like it's in good hands moving forward. The Callisto Protocol. The only reason why it's an honorable mention because now me and you talked about this game before it even came out, and you knew I was hella excited for it, mostly because like the combat of it, the fact that it's more melee based, so you do some weave and then counter. It was cheeks. The combat was cheeks. It was buggy. Like I get the fact that the dude that worked on Dead Space, this was like basically his Dead Space, but try harder next time. The actual Dead Space remake comes out at the end of January, so yeah, we good for that. Last but not least is High on Life, and the only reason why, look, that game is hilarious. But if we being honest, shooting wise, it's really just like a basic shooter. It's really mostly for the comedy, and if you're not a fan of like Rick and Morty, of like that comedy style, it can definitely turn you out. Me, I loved it, but also for the people that's complaining though, they literally got options to where you can, turn the dialogue down for like the gun and just like the NPCs and stuff. But yeah, the game was hilarious. I mean, playing High on Life while you high on life is like the definition
it's
of
like a double entendre.
Exactly. So yeah, those are my honorable mentions. Oh, and PGA Tour 2K23 with your boy Tiger Woods on the front, because I used to love playing all Tiger Woods games on PS2. The only thing that I hate is the fact that you can't like get like the one-arm swing no more. You can't have your own swing really, so they kind of like, it is what it is. But it is fun kind of, winding down, just playing a nice round of golf. And the fact that they actually got like legit golfers on there, because Ooh, Lord, that EA Rory McIlroy, we ain't gonna talk about that. But yeah, those are my honorable mentions. The floor is yours, sir.
I appreciate it. So I counted. So I'll say when I was making my top 10 list, I had a lot of games that I played and dabbled in this year and ones that I want to put on the list. So after I made my top 10, I had about 25, 27 honorable mentions that could have made it, and I chopped it down to 15. And even then, there were still some, like Sifu was one that I was gonna put on here, but I was like, I don't feel like I gelled with it enough to even want to mention it. So I'm glad that you listed it on there. So I'll try to speed through these. Now this first one, controversial, if you want to say, some people's favorite game of the year or the generation, Elden Ring. It's in my honorable mentions for the simple fact that I'm not a huge Dark Souls fan, Soulsborne fan. I've played the games, they're just not my cup of tea, but everybody and they darn mama was talking about Elden Ring when it came out. So I was like, you know what? Let me play it and see. And I will say, as somebody who doesn't normally play these type of games, I understand it. I get it. Like, I fully get it why people love it. I think I beat whatever the first boss is, starts with the M. I forget it, but I finally beat him. Somehow I made my way to Caled, which is horrible, and that was about it. I did enjoy it though. I played it for maybe about a month straight. I had 4 different builds. So I had 4 different save files with different builds, trying to figure out which one I actually wanted to invest time in. But after a while, I was just like, and once I saw basically how over leveled you have to be to technically get to the end of the game, and just recently found out there's like 72 unique bosses in the game or something like that. And once I saw the final boss and then Millennia, and I was like, all right, I'm not cutting that cloth. I've seen enough. If I want to watch more, I'll watch YouTube videos. But from what I played, I did enjoy. Next one is Triangle Strategy. This came out earlier in the year. This is another game that I played for a bit and then kind of fell off of it. I found out that my new, I guess, genre of games that I like is like strategy type RPGs. This one had a little bit too much story and dialogue in it for me, which was cool because it is a very good game. You do have choices that you got to make, and the combat's really excellent. Trying to kind of plan like 2 or 3 turns ahead of how one attack can affect something and then how you want to react to it and things like that. But overall, it's a great game. I want to say it's made by the same people that made the Octopath games, I believe. Okay. It may be somebody different, but it definitely looks like they call it HD 2.5 sprites and things like that. Next game is it Live Alive or Live Alive? Live Alive?
I think it's Live. Well, I say Live Alive.
Live Alive. Yeah, that one was a remake from, I want to say this was from the early 90s. This was an amazing game. It's basically broken up into like 7 or 8 different stories where you play as people in different parts of time. And I actually found out, because I didn't beat this game, but I actually did find out that once you beat all of them, there is like a final chapter that kind of merges it all together, which makes sense. But this was another great game. They had different things, like I think where you play as a cowboy, you play as a ninja, I think you play as a boxer. So there's like a boxer turn-based fighting game style. You play as a sentient robot on a spaceship. So it's a very fun game. It's on the Switch. If you like those old school 16-bit era RPGs, definitely try that. Next one is Marvel Snap. As you all know, I dabble in card games from time to time, and again, this was another one that when it came out had me in a chokehold for like the first couple of weeks. But it's a very fun game. Basically, you have three towers, and you gotta try to get the most points at each tower. So you have cards that affect it, but then each tower also has its own thing where it's like, hey, if you don't play here by turn 6, then all the other cards on the other side get destroyed, and different things like that. And the thing that I love about this game, the matches are super quick. Like, it's only 6 turns in the entire match. So you have 6 turns to basically kind of outmaneuver your opponent. So you can get like games in like 3, 4, 5 minutes tops. So you can, if you have some time to spend, you can definitely sit down and play a lot. So enjoyed that. Next one is Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, the sequel to Mario Battle Kingdom, whatever the first one was called. This one is just more refined of that. You can freely move around now. You have a few more characters to use. Definitely not a pairing that I thought would have ever worked in a million years, but seeing this makes me actually want to see other Nintendo properties handled by different studios. Like, imagine if somebody, I don't know, let's say made a Pokemon game that wasn't made by Game Freak, which we'll definitely be talking about later in this list. Or a Zelda game. Well, they had the Crypt Dancer game, but you know, things like that. But it's a fun game. Next one, TMNT Shredder's Revenge. Just old school beat 'em up at its finest, brought into the 21st century. Definitely a fun game. I played it with some friends and my nephews, and we had a very good time playing it. If you know about this game genre, then I don't need to say much. It's definitely a must-play game. Next one is Marvel Midnight Suns. If this game did not come out in December, it definitely would have been in my top 10. It combines things that I love, which is a RPG story, card-based battle system, and Marvel characters. And I didn't even know that Midnight Suns was a comic book run that it was based off of. I thought it was like a totally original, but it wasn't as bad as some people were saying. Some people were saying that the story can be a bit campy, and there's worse stories out there that came out this year than in Marvel Midnight Sun. So for the most part, it can be a bit campy. I will say I do not like Iron Man's voice actor in this game. He sounds holistically whiny for some reason, but other than that,
I wiped his Blade though.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the main reason. That's why I kept going through, so I can hang out with Blade. But yeah, Marvel Midnight Sun, definitely a game you should try out. Next one is another game that came out a little late in the year, Chained Echoes. So this is on Game Pass. Apparently this was made by one man, and he had some people help support with like music and some other things, but it's mostly made by one person. I think it took him like 7 years. This one I also am still playing through, and it probably would have made my top 10 if it would have came out earlier in the year. But excuse me, it's another 16-bit old school RPG, but it has a very interesting battle mechanic where they have an overdrive meter. So it's basically a meter. You have a yellow part, a green part, and a red part. So your goal is to get it in the green part, so you can get extra attack, you know, extra boost damage, things like that. Right. Take less damage. But you also don't want it to go into red, where you overheat and then you take more damage and do less damage. But the thing about it, each of your 4 party members has different things. So let's say you do like healing attack and it boosts your meter up. They have a symbol next to the meter that can bring it down. So let's say next turn you have a yellow symbol, like say a buff that you can use. You can bring that back down, and then the next turn you can stay in the green without trying to overheat. And it's a nice balancing act. And at first I thought it was gonna be like, you know, it's cool, you know. It may be like, oh, once you start unlocking stuff and getting moves and trying to balance it, and then you like one hit away from dying, but also the enemy is also one hit from dying, but you don't know if you do this extra attack, if it's gonna put you in overheat, if it's gonna kill him or not. It's a beautiful thing. If you have Game Pass, definitely download it and try it.
I need to go ahead and check that out.
Oh, also, all my Xenosaga fans, you can fight in flying robots too. So there's like a Gundam aspect to it. Next one is another recent one that just came out, Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. Again, I just started playing this right before New Year's, so if I would have bought this earlier, you know, when it came out, it definitely would have made my top 10. It's honestly, and I just know you told me this before we started recording, this was a PSP game. They basically did that, but gave it the Final Fantasy VII remake over. So like all the menus and stuff, the feel of the game, combat for the most part is very similar to remake, but it still holds Crisis Core's original, I guess, ambiance, essence. There we go. Essence from the PSP days. I really hope they can patch this in, but please just let us Just let Zach be able to say something besides, oh yeah, after every fight. Because like, I get it. You just want to fight and you're excited, but man, just it's a lot. But definitely this is the one I've been playing the most recently, so you know, I've been playing through it every night. But definitely great game. If you're a Final Fantasy fan, no doubt, definitely want to play. Next one, which I actually forgot came out this year because another game in the same series came out, Pokemon Legends Arceus. I enjoyed this a lot when it came out in January. It definitely is the most different a Pokemon game has ever been, probably in the entire franchise. In this game, you're somehow magically warped back to the beginning of like time when people still lived in like huts and stuff. And essentially the game is about you creating the first Pokedex ever in creation. So you find this village, they find you, you join them. They're like, well, you can't stay here for free, so you got to work. So you got to go out. And apparently, even though some people have Pokemon, apparently nobody's good at catching Pokemon. So you just randomly throw a Pokeball and people are like, oh wow, you can actually catch Pokemon. Like, I don't know. It's weird, but basically Arceus is God. Yeah, so I learned that the Pokemon Arceus is God, so God is literally a Pokemon in this universe. But it kind of takes like the Pokemon Go or the Let's Go Pikachu aspect, where you can literally just go around and just throw Pokeballs at things. Like, you don't have to battle them, you can just throw it. And there's actually a really cool flow to that, to you going into a field, seeing like 4 or 5 different patches of Pokemon and just start throwing Pokeballs over here, dodging, running over there, jumping off a cliff, throwing, like, there's people who done trick shots in this game of catching Pokemon. But it was fun. Also, for the first time in battles, you can actually run around, so like you don't have to stay still. So you can literally run over to where the opposing Pokemon is, stand right behind it, and have your Pokemon attack it, and you can get hit in the process. Yeah, overall I enjoyed it. It was very basic as far as story goes, and I'm not gonna lie, after there's like 5 main bosses, which really just whittle down to you throwing stuff at it and then dodging its attack. After the 3rd one, I was kind of like, all right, I'm kind of tired of this, let me just go ahead and beat it. But overall, very fun game. I'm interested to see, after the next Pokemon game we talk about later, how they meld these two in the series going forward. Next one, Splatoon 3. I just bought this game, even though it came out in September. I usually don't put multiplayer games on my list, but I've been playing the bejesus out of this one.
You definitely have, though, like facts.
So it's for the, you know, I mean, if you've played Splatoon, you know what it is. It's a fun game. If you want to just play to just kind of paint around and have fun being a squidling, there's that. But there is a very more serious competitive side, which I've kind of found myself into. And it's just a fun game. I would say if you're not a fan of shooters, or if you want to play something that's not shooting a gun, like bullets and stuff, this is a very family-friendly, kid-friendly game that you can play and not really feel, you know, leery if you don't want to play a game with actual guns like Call of Duty or anything like that. Next one is Tunic. This is the Zelda-like Dark Souls game, which looks all cute and cuddly, but this game is hard as hell. This is definitely more along the lines of like an Elden Ring game, and it's the thing that I liked about it. This game promotes exploration. So when you start the game, they don't tell you anything, and what you do is you basically find pages of like this booklet. So you know how like back in the olden years you would get a game and it would have the booklet and it would like show you all the enemies and stuff. So you collect that, and that's basically how you learn about the story of the game. Wow. Even though like the language in the game is not English, so like you gotta kind of go off of pictures, but it's definitely a game where you find out everything. Like you gotta find out where the shield is, where the sword is, where the grappling hook is, different things. And it's definitely fun. Game looks amazing, music is great. If you like those old school style exploration games, and I will say this game is difficult. So don't go in thinking that it's just gonna be like Kirby or something. It's definitely you got to have some dodging and timing skills to beat some of the bosses in this game. But yeah, definitely fun. Also, this is on Game Pass as well, so you can try it on there. But I think they brought it over to like Switch and PS4, PS5 as well. Next one, another multiplayer game that had me in a chokehold when it came out was MultiVersus.
Yeah.
I guess you can say this is the heir apparent to Smash, even though Brawlhalla's been out forever. Yeah. But it's definitely a fun game. I would definitely say mechanically it's a little different than Smash, maybe a little more difficult than Smash, and not difficult as far as hard, but as far as like not being as responsive as you want it to, because even though it's supposed to have rollback netcode, some of the netcode is kind of meh. But I mean, who wouldn't want to play a game where they can play as LeBron James versus Superman versus Batman versus Rick and Morty? I think that's why most people
got two different fighting styles with and without the basketball though.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think that's maybe why people liked it so much. I know I just liked it because, you know, I'm a WB fan. I like most of their properties. So, you know, why not try it out? Free to play too. So, you know, you can definitely try it with no strings attached or anything. But MultiVersus was definitely good. Next one, which caught me by surprise, also some people's possibly game of the year, Vampire Survivor.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm not gonna lie. When I first saw gameplay of this game, I was like, "Why? What? Like, what is this Flash mobile game that is on my screen?" This is one of those games you got to play to understand it. Again, it's on Game Pass, and even if it's not, I think it's like maybe $3 or $5 if you buy it anywhere else. It's literally you just move and try not to die. Like, there's no attacks. You don't control everything. Everything is automated. But the fact that you can make different builds, and I've even seen some where like literally the screen is just flashing lights and colors and sounds and things like that, and it's hard to tell what's even going on. What I found out, the dude who made this game used to work at casinos. So he said he designed this game to be like a slot machine to appease to like the eyes and the sensories that you get from like winning a jackpot and a slot machine. So that makes a lot of sense, because you do get a lot of like audio and visual satisfaction from like leveling up, doing certain things and things like that. But it's definitely a fun game to play. This would be definitely a good like chill game to play before you go to bed, or if you're trying to wind down and you don't want to do too much. But it's definitely a very fun game that I highly recommend. Last one, finally, is gonna be Neon White. The best way I can describe this game is if speedrunning met anime. And I say that in the sense to where there is a story, but you're basically a demon that died, but they letting you into heaven, but you gotta like do some dirty work for like God or something like that. And there's a whole bunch of y'all, and the fantastic Steven Bloom, that voice of Cowboy Bebop. Steve Bloom. Yeah. He plays the main character in this game, so that's another reason to buy this game, because A1 voice acting. So you play as him, and apparently you lost your memory too. So there's like, you're neon white, and there's like a neon purple and a neon yellow, and apparently they know you, but you don't remember them, but you're just trying to like, I guess, gain your freedom back. So, but it's a pretty fun game. I bought it on PC, so I'm using mouse and keyboard, but you pretty much have these cards and they have two different actions. So you can use it to shoot an enemy, or you can use it as like a jump to get higher. So when you're running through the course trying to beat certain times to get medals, you can either got to choose like, all right, do I want to use this card to shoot this enemy, or do I want to save it for later when I need to jump over this big ledge and I need like an aerial jump, which I have to like use the card, but you can't use it anymore after that. So it teaches you all that, and then as you go through that, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm not huge into speed running. I really don't care for speed running, but I was kind of hooked to this game to be like, all right, I know I can shave off 2 seconds here or like 0.5 seconds here and just find different avenues to get through the levels. So it's that level's gorgeous as well. I mean, it's on the Switch and PC as of now, so it is very basic level wise, but music's really good. And as I said, there is a story and there is voice acting. So definitely check it out if you haven't. And finally, that is my honorable mentions for 2022.
Honestly, that actually didn't take as long as, you know what I'm saying, I thought.
Neither did I. I could have sworn we were gonna be here for like an hour.
Just on the honorable mentions alone. But nah, good stuff. Especially considering like the most of them is like on Game Pass. So it makes it easier to kind of go back and play them. So yeah, good honorable mention list, sir.
Appreciate you. Thank you. So I guess now we will move into our top 10s. What I will do here, because I actually thought about this before we started recording, I'm gonna go first because I want you to give your number one last, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
okay.
That works.
So I'll do that. So I'll let you be the grand send off for the video. All right.
So much pressure.
So much pressure. All right. So for our top 10, my number 10, this was a game. This game was actually also on Game Pass. I'm not sure if it's still on there or not. I'm probably going to mispronounce this first word. Elden Chronicle Rising. EIYUDEN. So
yeah.
They had, I forget if it was last year during the Game Awards or something. They basically had it where there was this game coming out called Elden Chronicles: The 100 Heroes or something like that. It is supposed to be this big RPG, and I was like really looking forward to it. So this is a side game. So this is like a prequel to that game. Pretty much it's a 2D side-scrolling, I don't necessarily want to say beat 'em up. I kind of say like a Metroidvania style game.
Okay. I can see that.
And basically you play as this girl who comes from this village of merchants. And every year when you turn 16, you basically have to go out in the world and, find something valuable to bring back to the tribe. A bunch of stories that happened like this before. So she goes to this place where they're building this new city, where they're like, hey, you can find treasure in the mines and we'll give you a bunch of money. Of course, come to find out that the person building the city has no money. She's taken over because her father just died, and she's also 16. She eventually becomes a party member too. And you kind of just go throughout the story and just, unlock this greater mystery. I'm not gonna lie to you, the story's not really, nothing to write home about, but just the gameplay. It's one of those things where it's like, it gives you a list of stuff to collect and do. And when you get done, you're just like, I need to go to the forest and get one more twig so I can craft this weapon or this upgrade. And that's what kind of hooked me. Where I would get done with the main story mission and I would be like, oh, I'm looking at my side missions and I'm like, man, I need to go get this one thing and then I can upgrade my weapon attack. So then that'll add like another 20 to 30 minutes to my play session. But it's pretty fun, straightforward game. Nothing really too difficult. Once I kind of got the combat down, I literally just kind of like blew through all the bosses and everything, even the final boss, which was But as I said, this is a prequel to the game that's coming out. I want to say it's coming out this year. So they may drop some more on that. But my number 10 game of the year, Elden Chronicle Rising.
So my number 10 is actually going to be kind of quick because this was actually one of your honorable mentions and you basically said exactly how I feel about it. So my number 10 is Elden Ring. Like, I get it. You know what I'm saying? I get it for all the Dark Souls and stuff like that. But I'm not trying to play a video game that's going to piss me off, though. Like, I'm not finna pay $70 for a game that's going to frustrate me. You can call it what you want, but yeah. So number 10 is Elden Ring. Like, I understand the hype for it because I was one of those people we had conversations about it before it came out because we were saying, you know, we're not really Dark Souls people, but just it looked different to the point to where it was just like, okay, it might be a little different, but now still same core concept, you know. So, but yeah, kudos to y'all, Elden Ring, but it wasn't for me. Nah, son. So yeah, number 10 is Elden Ring.
Right, like I said, well said, well said. All right, so my number 9 is gonna be Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I am a big Kirby fan. I just remember memories of me playing Kirby on the SNES, Super SNES, or yeah, the Super SNES. Kirby 64 is one of my favorite games, even though I went back to it a couple of years and I was like, man, nostalgia really colored my eyes on this game, but the music is still good in the game. But yeah, this is actually the first 3D Kirby game we got. And when I say 3D, I mean being actually able to move in all 3D dimensions. Kirby 64 was a 3D game, but it was still like a 2D plane, so you can only move left and right.
Yeah,
this one you can actually move up and down, and it's actually really good. It is easy. I mean, it's a Kirby game. It's made for kids, you know. They do have like challenge mode, so they do have like a Coliseum I think you unlock after you beat the game, and I also believe there's like a reverse level of all the levels. Just think like all the levels but like with a purple tint for some reason to make them look harder, but yeah, overall it's a great game. I feel like it's a really good platformer. You know, music is great. The game looks amazing. It's these type of like first party Nintendo games that makes me think how other people can't really develop for the Switch, because you know, you have this Mario Odyssey, Paper Mario, Legend of Zelda. Like, you have these games that look decently well or look good for the system that they're on, but then you'll have other games that come and just can't really, you know, be up to snuff. But yeah, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, if you're a platformer fan, very fun game. I let my 6-year-old nephew plays it, and he got him a Switch for his birthday, and I think he has more than 60 hours since November on this game. It's literally all he plays. And then I remember one day I was coming in and he was like, hey, can you help me with this? And it's like, bro, I'm not even this far in the game yet.
Oh yeah, he doesn't pass you.
I was like, what? I mean, no, look it up online and whatever. But yeah, that's my number 9, Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
So my number 9 is Ghostwire Tokyo, which was a PS5 well, not really exclusive. I think it's a time exclusive if I'm not mistaken, but it came out on the PS5 in March, and to be honest with you, I enjoy it because, you know, you just walking around basically a kind of empty yet Slenderman looking demon filled version of Tokyo, but you just basically just walking around. Look, I don't care. They if you look at the gameplay footage, you know what I mean. You just basically just going around finger blasting people with different magic and spells. But I do like the fact though that it uses the controller, you know what I'm saying, to its fullest capability, because you actually got to like do the sign on the touchpad to be able to like do the spells, and the different tension on the triggers that you feel when you are like trying to, you know, take the cores out of the different demons and stuff like that. So yeah, I had a blast playing this game. Now granted, story wise, if we being honest, it really didn't matter. It really didn't pick up until the end of the game anyway, but the game wasn't really that long, so you know, it's a nice little cheap game to play. But yeah, my number 9 is Ghostwire Tokyo.
Right. And we will be moving on to number 8. So my number 8, another Switch exclusive. I'm gonna say right now, I think half my list is Switch exclusives, but
I believe it.
All right, so number 8, a game that I literally just bought on a whim. I think this one also came out in January, or maybe March. It came out earlier this year. Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes. So this is, I guess you could say, a spinoff of Fire Emblem 3 Houses. This is a Dynasty Warrior style game. I think it's made by that company, and Nintendo has had other games. I know Hyrule Warriors, Persona 5 Strikers had a game like this. So this isn't the first Nintendo property, or I guess Nintendo property that's had this style of game. I bought this just for something to play on my Switch, and because I'm a little bit more receptive to action games than strategy games, or at least I was earlier. This game was actually really fun. It's like a alternate universe of the first game of Three Houses. So in Three Houses, you play as Byleth. You basically become a teacher at this monastery, and then there's a time skip and a war, and then you gotta choose a side. So the same thing kind of happens here, except for you play as this new person who, for some reason, they named Shez, male or female. Not sure where Shez came from, but sure, whatever.
Each his own.
And essentially, you and Byleth become enemies, because at the beginning of the game, Byleth saves these three students, like the three heirs to their thrones, from these bandits. So in the beginning of the game, instead of you doing it, instead of Byleth doing it, you do it, and then you do get killed by Byleth, but then there's this spirit that brings you back to life. Weird, stuff. But so basically you end up choosing which one of the people you want to go with, and you become their right-hand person, and this war they inevitably get into. It's pretty fair. As I said, for Dynasty Warrior games, if you're a fan of those games, you basically go out on missions. You have your different classes. So you have spear, swords, magic, gauntlets, and then you can put, so you get characters, right? And they have specialties, like, your main character, Shez, is supposed to be a sword person, but you can make them a mage if you want to. They may not have the best stats, but you can slot them into that, and you could do that with pretty much anybody that you get. So there is fun in that. You have this base that you go back and you get materials for, so you can upgrade the supplies that you can sell, your training location, so you can train more people at a time and level them up faster. Overall, it's a great game. I enjoyed it. The story was pretty good as well. I never played Three Houses, so this is my first time interacting with this story and kind of seeing what happened, even though this isn't a direct sequel to what happened. It's kind of like a what if scenario, but overall I enjoyed it. If you like those Dynasty Warrior style games, definitely check this one out. Fire Emblem Warriors, the Three Hopes, my number 8 game of the year.
So my number 8 is a game that we both played, which is Soul Hackers 2. As you know, I've put in a ton of hours. I mean, if we've been on this any Atlas game, I'm probably gonna put in over 80 to 100 hours into. But so basically this is a sequel to, I think the original came out on Sega Saturn, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. But it's been a while. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, a long time ago, before it hit the States. But yeah, it's basically a sequel to that. And if you know about the Shin Megami Tensei game, it's basically one of those dungeon, those dungeon runner type video games. And so I'm not putting it anywhere near the same class as Persona 5, because it's not even gonna get that type of respect, because the game is real enjoyable, but navigating through the Soul Matrix is probably one of the most annoying things about this video game. You literally unlock the map as you running around, but it's all well and good until the damn purple. Ayo, you saw how high leveled I was. No matter how high you are, the purple demon on Soul Hackers 2 will kill you every single time. I think you said you probably killed one or two.
Barely.
I never even got close. But overall, though, it is a fantastic game to play. Character wise, shout out to Shingo, shout out to Ringo and Arrow. I think these was my two favorites. And the old boy that had the white suits on, was it Saizo or something like that? Yeah,
Saizo.
Yeah. That was probably my favorite out of everybody. But like I said, overall though, once you start unlocking the story, it's just the problem is in order to unlock everybody's backstory, you have to navigate through the soul matrix. And like I just said earlier, navigating through it can become like such a chore to where it kind of makes you not want to. But if you stick with it and you actually get to the end and beat the game, it's a pretty dang good story until you kind of realize the fact that old girl kind of went full Daenerys from Game of Thrones, because she basically went crazy because, you know, the dude that didn't want her. It's, yeah, when you go back and look at it, yeah. But yeah, my number 8 is Soul Hackers 2. And then after a while, though, that music kind of got annoying. You know, you run around, I hear that dun 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 dun. Yeah, so yeah, number 8, Soul Hackers 2.
All right, well put, well put. So for my number 7, another Nintendo game. Not the last one, but another Nintendo game. Controversial, even if you say so, is Pokemon Violet. So here's the thing. I actually beat this game. Well, the main story. I know there's post-game stuff, but it literally just has you fight the gyms over again, just with stronger Pokemon. But I know it's like that's it. But so Pokemon Violet. So let's go ahead and get the elephant out the room. This game, this is probably one of the most horrible released games, maybe since Cyberpunk, maybe ever.
Yeah, it's in the same category as Cyberpunk.
It is the amount of lack of polish that was in this game when it came out. Frame drops, you can clip the camera through almost every service. Like you've probably seen the clips on Twitter and YouTube of all the glitches and stuff in this game. And in all honesty, I think the only reason that game is able to be put out like that is because it is a Pokemon game. I find it very hard to believe any other company or series that can put out a game in this state and still have people say it's probably the best Pokemon game they've ever played. And I'm one of those. I will say, as somebody who played the original, played Gold and Silver, played Ruby and Sapphire, fell off for a little bit, came back with Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield. As an overall experience, this definitely is probably gameplay and story wise one of the best Pokemon, and probably one of the best final boss fights I've had in a Pokemon game. It probably rivals your fight with Red on Mount Ash in Silver.
That's saying a lot.
Like the hype that you get, I won't say too much, but if you've beat the game, what I feel like it was, I do feel like this game was probably rushed, because I think they were working on this and Arceus at the same time, I would imagine, since they came out in the same year. The final area for this game, I feel like, is where all the budget went, because that's probably the most detailed area in the game, especially once you get to like the final area where you fight the final boss.
Right.
My whole thing is, this game is fun. It kind of basically lets you, and it kind of makes sense, right? So you move to this island and you basically get enrolled at a Pokemon school. So like there's an actual school if you want to be like a trainer, Pokemon breeder, whatever. Like it's actually a school just to learn how to do stuff in the field of Pokemon. So how it makes sense that you've set this 12-year-old, I think that's your character's age, kid loose on this island, is they have this thing called a treasure hunt. And they're like, all right, we're going to suspend school. Y'all go out into the world and y'all find out what your personal treasure is, whether it be find your purpose, for lack of better words, which makes more sense than you just waking up one day and going to your professor being like, hey, can I have a Pokemon and go battle strangers and adults and try to overthrow this evil crime organization? So it kind of makes sense. There's 3 storylines. So of course you got the gym battles that you can fight. You have these Titan Pokemon, which are kind of like raid bosses that you fight. And then you have these, oh my God, what are their names? I forget their names, but it's like these 5 bases that you fight, and all the storylines kind of intertwine after a while. So it kind of makes sense. But I mean, overall, it's great. I do feel like it is time that we get voice acting in the Pokemon game because
Facts.
This is probably the most funniest stuff I've ever seen in a video game. So there's one of the later gym battles is against a rapping grandma, and she does a performance, but it's just like the music and her words on the screen, and she's just like sitting there, and it's
a rapping grandma.
It's hella awkward. Like she has like a URL rap battle against somebody before you actually Pokemon battle her, and boy. Wow. Those lyrics were so, I don't know who wrote those, but they were not it. Like they were bad. They were bad. You should look it up on YouTube. They were bad. I forget what the lyrics were, but she really thought she was doing something, and they were bad.
It's just the fact that they got a rapping grandma on
and she's black too.
Game in general.
Like
all right, cool.
Just imagine somebody's grandma that you would imagine in the kitchen cooking. Just imagine her with a long gray braid and a fitted hat to the back. Just being a 6-year-old Nicki Minaj.
That's terrible. Okay, that's a visual that let's move on. But
basically, like I said, for the most part, it's a fun game. I did get used to kind of the quirks and stuff, like the slowdowns, the pop in. Like I just kind of dealt with it because I was having fun, and you can literally, for the most part, within reason, go anywhere. So, if you're feeling froggy enough and you want to go try to fight the final gym that because it doesn't tell you what order, so I had to look up on a guide because they're all level capped. But yeah, if you want to go fight the final gym, which is like level 50, 60, right after you get your starter, if you can find some way over there, because you got to climb and stuff, you can do it. You're not going to beat them, but it's neither here nor there. But it was very enjoyable. Probably one of the more refreshing Pokemon experiences I've had in a while. I'm really interested to see with Arceus and Violet and Scarlet how they do going forward, because I want to say this should definitely be a wake-up call that they need to do better QA and better development. But this game sold like 10 million in the first 3 days, so
what?
Yeah,
I shouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, like it's I think they said it's like the fastest and most selling Pokemon game they've had ever. So I mean, if somebody's paying you $10 million for a broken game, like why would I change it? Let me just wait till next year, give y'all some different starters, put y'all in somewhere else in Antarctica or something, and But I mean, if you're a Pokemon fan, you've probably already played this. If you're somebody who hasn't played Pokemon, I will say this would be a good place to jump into. Just know that you're not going to have the most smoothest experience if you're used to like smooth frame rate and decently looking good graphics. But my number 7, Pokemon Violet, a very enjoyable mess is what I'll call it.
So I mean, it wasn't really a mess, but my number 7 is another game that you also had on your honorable mention list, and you kind of basically said the same thing, TMNT Shredder's Revenge. I mean, look, if you grew up in the 90s, you already know about, Turtles in Time, the arcade beat 'em ups and stuff like that, and this is literally just what it made you feel like, just, with the modernized tone. So the soundtrack was amazing. The enemies was ridiculously difficult, like you playing on Super Nintendo all over again. So, yeah, just not to spend too much time on it. Just I don't repeat what you said. But yeah, number 7 is Shredder's Revenge, because the fact that you can play with April, Casey, and Master Splinter as playable characters, and hey, Master Splinter was slow, but I think he probably hit the hardest outside of like Raphael though. But yeah, man, between the finishers and the soundtrack, yeah. I had a lot of time, a lot of fun playing Shredder's Revenge, especially with the homies. Now, I will say this, and you can attest to it. when it is like 4 of y'all playing and like it's a bunch of specials going on, there could be times where there's a lot going on screen and you get confused.
Yep, sensory overload to the max.
But then after, you know, saying everything calms down, you go right back to the fun of it.
Exactly.
Overall, though, like I said, the Twinks, I think that's the same one that did the Streets of Rage 4 too, if I'm not mistaken.
The Streets of Rage 4.
Yeah. Might as well give us a final fight next. I'm just saying, like, if you're gonna keep bringing games back like this, go ahead and give us a final fight. Actually, Double Dragon, because we ain't gonna talk about like Double Dragon Neon and, you know, all that came out recently. But yeah, man, shout out to Shredder's Revenge. Fantastic. It's good to see the Turtles, you know, getting a good video game again, because if we're being honest, it's been a while.
Yeah. You could probably say that before that their most best video game was when they were in Injustice 2.
Oh yeah, and I forgot that it was in Injustice. That tells you. That's all you need to know right there.
Exactly. I will also say, random unexpected highlight of my year was fighting Shredder while listening to the Wu-Tang Clan in the background. I think that was Wu-Tang Clan, right? On his first phase.
Yeah, it was. I mean, what more could you ask for? I'm just saying.
I was like, can we get a whole stage of that? I mean,
just, you know, the check ran out.
Yeah, it's like all y'all get is about a verse and a half from Ghostface, and that's about it. Yeah,
that's all y'all can afford, fam.
Oh man. All right. My number 6 was one you already mentioned, Soul Hackers 2. As you said, you pretty much said everything. I think when this game first got announced, I think I texted you and said, man, they're doing cyberpunk anime or something like that, just because of how it looked. I don't even think I've even knew about the original Soul Hackers. I knew it was like a branch of the Shin Megami Tensei games, and I'm with the same sentiment as you. I would not put this in the same realm of Persona or even the recent Shin Megami Tensei 5 and the 3 remake Nocturne, but it is a fun game. The music and the vibe is definitely good. Voice acting is really good, but like you said, just the getting around the Soul Matrix and just how slow Ringo runs, and you can definitely tell this is a game of a bygone era, because this game is not quality of life friendly at all. Like at all. Like if you're used to playing more recent RPGs where you can save anywhere, where you can instantly, you know, go places without having to go to a certain point, this game is you have to work to get around in this game.
Facts, man.
And that's kind of the best that I'll say it. But overall it's fun. I haven't fully beat it yet, but I've gotten a good ways in, but I have enjoyed myself with the story. Just kind of the idea of like having an AI that watches over you, and then it's like, oh, something's going to happen, let us step in. And then basically having Ringo trying to figure out how to communicate with humans and, you know, learn human emotions and sayings from her other party members has been pretty cool. But yeah, I have been enjoying the story. So that's kind of a thing that's been kind of pushing me through to kind of want to see, you know, what happens and what is going to happen. But yeah, overall, it's a fun game. I would definitely say if you're a fan of older, more difficult to maneuver RPGs, this will definitely be right up your alley. But yeah, that's my number 6, Soul Hackers number 2, or Soul Hackers 2. I don't know where I got number from, but
so my number 6 might be controversial to some, because of how they felt about this game, but my number 6 is going to be Gotham Knights, because look, people, when you actually take the game for what it is instead of what you want it to be, the game actually is pretty fun, especially when you're playing online with some of your friends. So look, everybody basically was assuming this was gonna be, you know, like Batman Arkham Origins, except, you know, basically just playing with, you know, Nightwing and everybody else. No, they told you from the jump. But am I lying though? They literally said from the jump that this is not gonna be affiliated with any of that universe, but yet people kept comparing this game to that. I'm not even gonna go into a rant about that, but I love the fact that every single character felt different. Like Red Hood felt different from Nightwing, Nightwing felt different from Robin, and Robin felt different. Now, granted, it should have been Damien as Robin instead of, but you know that's another argument as well. But they do a good job of like basically making you feel like you can literally play with anybody. You literally can. Look, once you learn how to play with Robin and, you know, OP his weapons and his combos a little bit, he's honestly probably like the best one to play with combo-wise, but you know, I'm a Red Hood fan, so I get the most enjoyment out of that. The story, it could have been better. I will say that I do feel like they kind of wasted the Court of Owls a little bit. Mm-hmm. Because the story did get like a little weak towards the end, and I mean, it's not really a sport. Look, Bruce Wayne is in the game. They said Batman is dead, but he gonna pop up. So I'm just. So,
I've seen that part. So yeah.
Yes. So it's just like, well, I'll say it wasn't as bad as them. You know what I'm saying that the Arkham Knight wasn't gonna be basically.
Oh yeah, that was horrible.
Yeah, like we already you instantly knew that it was Jason Todd as soon as you saw him pop up. So in that regard, me personally, I wouldn't say it's that bad, but yeah, I would say Gotham Knights is my number 6 game because now, granted, you know, the city could feel a little bit more alive as far as like, you know, stuff to do and like people, you know, villains and stuff like that. But I like the side stories with Penguin. You know, I like the little dynamic. Shout out to your boy Lucius for, you know, help you out with weapons. So if you just take the game for what it is, it's actually pretty enjoyable with that. As far as like riding around on the back, I rarely drove around on the Batmobile. It was too damn slow. Yeah. Like, for the most part, I'm just, like, flying around, you know what I'm saying, gliding around the city. But, yeah, man, Gotham Knights, it's actually a pretty fun game. I would say if you catch it, like, on sale, like, $35 or something like that, yeah, you know, just sit down, give it a chance, erase anything you know about, you know, the Arkham series out of your mind when you play it. I know it's going to be difficult, but if you do that and kind of get used to the combat, it's actually pretty good.
Okay. Very good. Very good. My number 5, surprisingly, is not a Switch game. My number 5 is my number 5 is a game that when I first heard announced, I was like, all right, cool. I hope they just don't mess it up like they did the last one. Star Ocean: The Divine Force. So I am I wouldn't say a huge fan. I'm a medium fan of the Star Ocean series. Still waiting for them to bring Second Story to the USPS store. Anytime you want to do that, was it Bandai Namco? I'd greatly appreciate it. You have all the other ones there. That's literally the only one that's not on there, so I have to play it in non-legal ways. But yeah, the Divine Force. So I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw this game, I was like, all right, it looks cool. The graphics look a bit hit or miss, but once you actually play the game, they actually do look really good. Especially the places that you go, the vistas that you see, the areas that you visit, they all look really well. Character models actually look pretty good in game. They do look a bit plasticky, dolly in the faces a little bit, but I mean, it's way worse that you've seen. Overall, this is a fun game. They have the Duma mechanic. So essentially how that is explained is it is this robot assistant Siri thing that you find after you crash land, and it basically gives you the ability, for lack of a better word, to just fly around the map. It's not continuous flight, but you can pretty much jump up, you can hover, hold like the R1 button, hover, and then you can just shoot really high up in the air, and then you can just float everywhere. And at first I was like, this ain't really good. No, that's it's kind of like a poor man's version of swinging in Spider-Man, because while it's not as good as that, you just want to climb up to the highest hill that you find, jump off, Duma mid-air, go up even higher, then just float to the ground to where you need to go. It's very fun to get around, and it's good to use in combat too, because you can use it to blindside opponents, which kind of stuns them and lets you get more damage off. The story is pretty, if you've played a Star Ocean game, it's pretty much standard fare. There's technically 2 main characters. Raymond, and then I forget the princess's name, the girl with the purple hair. But you basically play as a side from somebody who's coming from outer space to this undeveloped planet for the most part, and then you're playing as somebody who's a princess in this undeveloped planet, and you're meeting somebody from outer space, and you're like, oh wait, there's actually people that live outside in the stars, and she kind of gets taken into that. But overall, the game is very fun. You have 4 party members, so you can play and switch in between each and every one of them. They have different stats and different weapons, of course, that you can equip for them. It's pretty standard JRPG fare, but it is very fun. I would say if you are a fan of JRPGs and, you know, haven't played it, definitely play it. I'm just glad it's better than, what the hell was the name? Faithlessness and integrity and faithlessness, whatever the name for Star Ocean 5 was. It's horrible.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It was
abysmal, but overall it's a super fun game. Music's good, you know. I would consider it like comfort food. You know, it's not the best, it's not, you know, the filet mignon, but you know what you're getting, and you're gonna enjoy it while you're playing it. But that's my number 5, Star Ocean: The Divine Force.
So considering how long this video game is, I'm gonna try to keep what I say about it as short as possible. But my next game is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I'll be interested to see if this falls on your list, but I'm a big fan of the Xenoblade games. I love the second one. Now, granted, the story and the gameplay isn't for everybody, especially the gameplay part, because it can get tedious and unnecessarily difficult at times, but I think I put 120 something hours into this game. I know, but you kind of got to only to get to. Yeah. That's the only way you're gonna really beat it, is if you put that much time into it. But I will say this though, like as far as like JRPG games, it is one of the best that I did play last year. And like I said, I'm just a big fan of Xenoblade Chronicles games in general. So yeah, like I said, I'll keep it short because kind of talking about it, I don't really want to spoil nothing, because that's one of them games you really want people to like experience for themselves. Now, I kind of got the hours out of the way because I'm letting you know ahead of time. Once you get started playing this game, it's gonna be hard to put it down, because it does start slow. So it is a slow burn, but once it actually gets going though, yeah, it's you ain't gonna want to get off the ride. But yeah, man, my number 5 is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I'm not ever going back and playing that game again, because I ain't got an extra 100 hours in my life to contribute to it again. But yeah, man, shout out to Xenoblade Chronicles 3 though. And to be honest, that's probably one of 2 or 3 Switch games that's on my list.
Okay, all right, interesting. I'm probably sure we'll be talking more about that in a second.
You said it was so much this thing.
In a second. My number 4 is a game that I haven't beaten. I do plan to beat, because I do want to see the end of this story. This has honestly got to be the most bad luck new IP franchise that has come out in forever. My number 4 is Horizon Forbidden West. I feel so sorry for Guerrilla Games for both of their games literally coming out weeks or a month before a quote unquote generational game comes out. The first Horizon came out like a week before Breath of the Wild. Yeah. This one comes out like a few weeks before Elden Ring, and also the same year as God of War. And this one is definitely a lot better and more fleshed out than the first one. It's I don't know. I honestly would love to see how this game would have fared if it, you know, had the ability to come out last year or in 2020. But of course, we had the pandemic, so I know that pushed a lot of games and studios back. But I would have loved to see this game basically get its time to shine without having to go up against, you know, more generational games, we'll say. But excuse me. Yeah, Horizon Forbidden West. I enjoyed the hell out of this game because one, I played the PS5 version. Y'all know the PS4 version of Horizon. Well, it was cool, but it definitely, Zero Dawn definitely had some issues when it first came out, and apparently they've patched the mess out of this mug, so now it runs a whole lot better than when it first did come out. But yeah, like you said with Xenoblade, this game is also kind of a slow burn. I think you technically don't get to the Forbidden West until like the first 8 or 10 hours after the game. Which,
it takes a while.
Yeah, it takes a while, which is cool because, you're kind of refamiliarizing yourself. You're kind of, learning the lore, the story. But then again, it's also like, all right, I was promised a Forbidden West, and now I'm just like in this town trying to get this dude who won't pay anybody kicked out, reasonably. But I do love the game. It's kind of interesting, and maybe it's just me that I noticed that with these Sony first party games of God of War, Last of Us, Horizon, how now they're kind of leaning towards more or less you having your main character and then your main character having like a sidekick, for lack of a better word. Yeah, companion, because I know in this game, you have your base, and then you can have other characters come with you in other games. But it was fun. Combat's definitely great. Facial animation is amazing in this game. I don't know, this is probably one of the few games where I will gladly take pictures of the black people in this game because they look like black people in real life. Is one of the few games that I've probably ever played where they actually get the correct like facial structure, hair, skin, and I just hope more games do that as opposed to just giving us like dreads and afros and darker taper fade and just a darker skin than the white skin. But yeah, I would probably say if I had one critique, and this is just probably me personally, and I had the same thing with the first game, I kind of don't find Aloy that interesting of a character, and I kind of feel like that's just the way she's voice acted. Maybe, I don't know. I in the first game she was cool, but I just kind of get like and I get it, she's had a hard life, she was an outcast, she had to fight for everything. I get it. It's just like sometimes I kind of wish I was just playing as somebody else. Like, can I play as Varl? Like, or the
no, I'm with you. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm with
like the drunk dude or something. Like, I don't know. But besides that, overall the game is fun. Game is amazing. Definitely a upgrade from the first one. Dinosaurs are still hard as hell.
Man, say
especially the flying ones. Them trying to get them down and just fighting everything. But overall, I've enjoyed the game. I do plan to beat this before the DLC comes out, so definitely gonna put some more hours into it. But my number 4 is Horizon Forbidden West.
So it's kind of funny that I'm looking at my list because I was talking about Nintendo Switch, and my number 4 would be a game that you would probably assume would be higher, but my number 4 is Bayonetta 3 for the Nintendo Switch. And look, it's classic Bayonetta. If you played the first two, you know what you're gonna get. But I just did not like the way this one ended. And I know it's like probably like a jacked up way, to judge it, but considering how long we've been playing the first and the second one, character wise, I just feel like how everything ended up going in the end, it didn't fit. Now, as far as like the game go, it kind of reminded me of Devil May Cry 5 a little bit, because you're basically playing with like different versions of it's like a whole MultiVersus Bayonetta situation going on, and the new chick basically looks like a version of Virgil, like the female version of Virgil. If we just being real though, but I like playing with it. But I mean, yeah, it's just I ain't gonna say disappointed because that's like a strong word, because Bayonetta is amazing, but I will say, considering that we the type of people who don't really just put like a lot of expectations on games for the most part, this is one of those games that I kind of had high expectations for, and I feel like it didn't really meet them. like story wise. Like if this is gonna be the end of like this Bayonetta story or whatever, I don't really feel confident in the franchise moving forward. So I'll just kind of put it like that. So that's why I didn't crack my top 3. But overall, like I said, I love the game regardless, though. It gave me a reason to play my Nintendo Switch again because, yeah, outside of Xenoblade, I wasn't really playing my Switch. But yeah, man, Bayonetta 3, I'm hoping for kind of brings that, brings my love back for the franchise. But yeah, number 4 game is Bayonetta 3.
Okay, so I have a quick question because I have all the reviews and people who love the game say they feel the same way about the ending. Do you think that was done so that the side game that's coming out in a few months will maybe change that, or maybe make it make more sense?
I'm hoping it does that, but then at the same time, though, considering how it ended. So look, you can look it up on YouTube. I'm not gonna really just spoil it, but considering the path that it took 2 of the main characters that we know, I don't really think they should have like left that as like the canon ending. You know what I'm saying? Like if they was gonna do that, they should have like did that on like the side game or something like that, or like a what if type situation, instead of making it the canon ending of like where the franchise is going moving forward. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, got you. Okay.
But I'm hoping for the best though, because they got to explain something. Because we weren't rocking with it, fam. It's a reason why a lot of people were just like, I wasn't feeling it, So that's kind of I feel them on that part.
Okay, makes sense. All right, so we are to the top 3. My number 3, which I'm going to strongly guess is somewhere in your top 3 as well, probably higher than mine's. This game I was excited for. I had a bunch of fun with. Of course, I haven't beaten it yet, which is kind of a trend on this list. But I've gotten to a good enough point where I can honestly say this is definitely one of my favorite games of the year. Is God of War Ragnarok. Kind of like Horizon, this thing is just refinement and expansion of the 2018 game. Again, playing on the PS5, combat feels buttery smooth. Very interesting how the story has been continued, where now we're seeing Atreus as a teenager instead of a kid. You even get some sections where you get to play as him, which honestly his combat isn't that bad. For mainly range character, he actually feels pretty fun and pretty good to use. I do know some of the critiques I've seen of this game was they felt like story-wise it kind of was all over the place, and I kind of felt that way too. But as I played most of the game, and at the point of this recording, I'm about maybe 20 hours in, so I want to say I'm maybe a little bit past halfway, or maybe into like the last third of the game. It makes sense because you're essentially following Atreus. And what is Atreus? He's a confused teenager that has no idea why he turned into a bear and almost killed his dad a few times, and what his true purpose is. So for me, that makes sense if you get that out of this game, where it's like, man, this story doesn't feel like it's going anywhere. It feel like it's just hopping around. Where it's like, well, I mean, when you were a teenager, you were kind of the same way. You didn't know what you were doing, you're just doing what your dad told you. And you got to imagine now that he finds out he's Loki and supposed to be the savior for his race, like he's got to try some stuff out. So it definitely makes sense. I will say this game definitely does feel a bit long-winded. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I do believe they said this will be like the end of this current saga. And it makes sense because I do feel like this game, if they wanted to, could have probably been 2 separate games. But then again, it would probably be hard to try to justify like in this game, it makes sense why Kratos, you have to get all of Kratos' power back because of Fimbulwinter, and like, okay, that makes sense. Like this storm that basically just depowers everything or has certain effects, it makes him weaker, so he has to get strong again. And that's definitely evident with the first boss fight that you have against Thor. But yeah, overall amazing game. Like I said, great voice work, great, great design. Again, it is a linear game, so as I said, I think the length is a little bit much, and maybe why I've put it down for a little bit, because after a while it's just like, all right, there's only so many corridors and so many favors I gotta try to figure out and do until I kind of just want to take a break. But this definitely will be something I do plan to finish soon, just so I can watch spoiler cast about it, because I like to see other people's perspective and how they interpret the story. So that'll be something that'll be definitely at the top of my to-do list. But yeah, my number 3 game of the year is God of War Ragnarok.
That was very well said. I ain't gonna lie, that was very, very well said. So my number 3 would be a game that we talked about earlier, Final Fantasy Crisis Core Reunion. You already know I'm a Final Fantasy head. I mean, Final Fantasy 7 Remake was phenomenal. Final Fantasy 8 is still my favorite Final Fantasy out of all of them. Argue with your mama. But as far as this one goes, so I did play the PSP version of the game, and when I say it's literally almost a shot-for-shot remake and storytelling of it, obviously, they're adding some things to kind of, connect it to, the Final Fantasy 7 remake, because, obviously they changed their story. But Zack is definitely real integral to the overall story. Since you never played, I don't really want to say too much and give it away, because once you see it, it'll kind of all start, start to make sense. So I don't want to give it away, but I will say, once you start to get deep into it and start to see Zack's story, you might want to change the audio, because that "oh yeah" is going to annoy you for a minute. I forgot how many chapters it was, maybe 20 if I'm not mistaken. And also that final boss fight was a bitch. That's really the only best way you can describe it. It literally takes any and every ounce of you to beat this final boss. But combat wise, it's basically the Final Fantasy 7 remake. The DMV, which is the little slot machine thing, on the top left corner, I will say, and probably because I'm older now, it didn't annoy me as much as it did on the PSP version, because the effects, it benefits you a little bit more than it did back on, because on the PSP version, sometimes whatever it land on, it'll add more enemies, or it'll actually help the enemies out. Okay. This, it'll do that every now and then, but on this one, it's basically more to help you out in a battle. Yeah. All the status effects is mostly to help you. But yeah, man, I miss the OG voice actor for Zack, because Zack sounds so whiny at times. And you know what it reminds me of? Mm-hmm. It reminds me of when Naruto was trying to bring Sasuke back to the village, and all like I said, you still early in the game, so you don't understand it right now. But once you start getting deep into the story, you'll understand exactly what I mean by that. So I'm gonna just kind of stop it right there, because like I said, if I keep saying more, it'll kind of spoil some stuff for you. But yes, my number 3 game is Final Fantasy Crisis Core Reunion for the PS5. It is amazing. But goddamn, Zack.
I know, right? And like I said, I just recently started playing that, but I'm definitely sure if I would have played it when it first came out, it definitely would have been in my top 10. And I'm only maybe 3 or 4 hours in. All right, so top 2. So my number 2 is actually a game you just recently mentioned, Xenoblade Chronicles 3. So I have thoughts about this game. I will first off start by saying this is the first Xenoblade game that I played in depth. I bought the definitive edition when this game got announced, and I played maybe about 10 hours of that, but I didn't really touch it much after that. So I will say this, to me, as somebody who enjoys JRPGs and RPGs in general, this game had the potential to be the best JRPG I've ever played, but with one thing, which I'll get to in a second. The characters are amazing. The music is amazing. It should have won Best Music at the Game Awards. The story is gripping as it kind of makes you think about mortality as these, you know, basically test tube child soldiers only have 10 years to live, so all they know is just war. And then some events happen where 3 people from each side have to join together to kind of fight an enemy that they don't really know much about. And it just, like, the story, the writing in the story is good. Game looks actually really good for the Switch. I will say, after playing Pokemon Violet and coming back, it made me way more appreciative of how this game runs and looks on the Switch, because like I don't want to talk about Violet again, but as far as a Switch exclusive game, this game definitely runs really well. My only gripe is the combat. Now, when it comes to the combat, I'm more of the line of either you have your action RPGs, your turn-based. This game combat is like an MMO, so it's like you get auto attacks. Once your auto attack builds up, you get to do special moves. Then, you know, you have your supers, and then in this game they have the fusions as well, so you kind of fuse 2 characters together and they can do their moves. I've said probably after about the first 20 hours, I'm about 45 to 50 hours in it, maybe more than that. After about my first 10 to 15 hours of playing this, I was like, all right, I get the combat, I understand it, I actually like it to a certain extent, but I feel like if this game had the combat of Final Fantasy VII Remake, it would make it the best game ever. And the reason I say that is because when it comes to like combat, for lack of a better word, you really only have control over your character. So you have your attackers, you have your defenders, and you have your healers. And then you have like a 7th party member, which is like different characters you can unlock throughout the story, but you can't control them, the computer controls them. So I'm like, all right, I'm playing as my defender, and their job is basically to take aggro away from your other characters. So like the monsters are hitting you. Well, I'm like, all right, I'm a defender, I done put my buffs out, I done did whatever. Oh man, I'm low on health, I need healing. You have to hope that the CPU will heal you, instead of being able to pull up a command and be like, hey CPU, do your healing attack the next time it's available, or being able to switch to it. And then if you do want to switch to the healer, you got to remember who you got as healer, because remember, you got 6 characters on the field, they all fighting at the same time, and they're always in order. So you got Noah, Mio, Senna, Lance, all that. So if you're like Senna, who's at the end of the list, and Noah's a healer, you got to switch all the way back over to Noah without the game pausing, and hope that you don't die before you can hope. Well, 1, hope that his attack is up to use, and 2, hope that you don't die before he casts it. So that's really my only gripe, and it's more of just a personal preference thing. Like, I just wish I had more control in combat to tell my characters what to do, or to be able to dictate what they do, because it's kind of annoying where I'm like fighting a boss and I'm beating the boss butt, and then they go into their second phase, or they get their little juiced up mode, and then they wipe out my 2 healers. And the thing about it, the healers are the only people that can revive people. You just go up to revive people and hold A. So you would think it's like, all right, like anybody should be able to do it. No, only your healers can. So if all of your healers are dead, you can't revive nobody. And I'm just like, I guess I'll do this fight over again. But besides that, if you are a fan of that combat style, it's akin to like Final Fantasy 12 and Ni no Kuni, the first one. It's kind of like that. So if you're used to that, it's perfectly fine. Tons of upgrade options, tons of classes that you can mix and match, and different things to kind of kit out your characters. But that's just my only thing. But even with that, I still enjoy the game, and it was almost my game of the year if my number 1 didn't really take control of me like it did. But overall, it's an amazing game. If you've never played a Xenoblade game, I would probably say this would probably be the best one to start with, just because, 1, it is the newest, but also I would say, for lack of a better words, it wasn't too difficult to wrap my head around the combat. I kind of got it. You know, I watched a few videos to see if there's anything more I could do, but for the most part, it was pretty straightforward. And then again, as I said, it's one of the better stories I've played in a while. And even though I'm maybe halfway through, maybe. I kind of got an eye. Well, yeah, we'll see.
Close.
I got an idea where the story is going, and if it's going where I think it's going, then I'm really interested to see what like the latter half of this game is gonna look like. But my number 2 game of the year is Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
So my number 2 game is also a game that you recently just talked about, and I basically almost echo the exact same sentiments. My number 2 is Horizon Forbidden West, and I mean I'm pretty sure you already know what my number 1 is just off of that alone. But so I agree with everything you said about Horizon, because the reason why it's honestly not my number 1 is because I don't really see too much character progression like from Aloy. Like by the end of the game, I still was just like, I still don't really like, I understand, like you said, you had a hard life and you found out some things and stuff like that, but after a while though, you get tired of hearing I have to go save the world, so exactly. That's why, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like you get tired of that. Like that's not an excuse you can keep using anytime your friends or people like try to help you or get close to you. So, and like you said though, I know it's a preference, so I know that probably sounds like a weird reason, but like when you playing a story game, especially like a game like that's built off the story, the combat is amazing. Like especially toward the end of the game, once you kind of unlock certain things that I don't understand why it takes until the end of the game for you to be able to use this. But once you unlock it, it makes traversal a whole lot better. But yeah, man, it's just like I said, I echo everything. Combat is great. It's just the fact that all the other side characters is more enjoyable than the main character to me. Like she has this savior complex. And like I said, I understand, but you have people who actually are willing to help you and die for you, and you keep shutting them out, and I will say this though. Angela Bassett did an amazing job in this video game. And also the character design of her character, and really just her people in general was amazing. So yeah, voice acting, fantastic. Can't beat it, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's just Aloy, she just annoys me when she shouldn't. You know what I'm saying? Like once you think you like, okay, you start to see, you know what I'm saying? She finally, nope. Or it takes for something to happen, and then just like how most people do. But yeah, just the game is great. I mean, you know how many hours I put into that game.
Yeah.
Once they add this new, once they add the DLC, I will definitely be going back and playing it. But yes, the thing that kept this from being number 1, despite what my number 1 is just her being her is the main reason why I just couldn't make it my number 1. It's just because like after a while you just be like, all right, I'm sick of you. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. So yeah, that's why that's my number 2. But yeah, Horizon Forbidden West, I love that game to death. But hopefully by the third one, and one time for Lance Reddick, because that man needs his flowers for everything. He was the only good thing about that Resident Evil Netflix show. But, you know what I'm saying? His character is Silas on Horizon. Yeah, he did his thing, man. So, yeah, one time for Horizon Forbidden West.
I feel like we should get our own side game with him as DLC or something to see.
To be honest, because the way the story, you know what? Depending on how this DLC go, to take that idea.
That would be definitely good. All right, so my number 1 game of the year, I would say my favorite game of the year, and it's a little, I don't want to say it's weird. It's a little bit of a left field for me, because I do enjoy this game. I did enjoy his series. I played the first 2 games in the series. When this game was first announced, I was like, all right, cool. I know I'm gonna like the gameplay, but I'm not sure how this art style is. And I bought it, I played it, and it's one of those games that I plan to play for the next few years, as long as they keep adding DLC to it. It's Ollie Ollie World. So I'm a big avid Ollie fan. I'm kind of a low-key skateboard fan, you know, play the Tony Hawks growing up. I never could skateboard in real life. I tried once when I was like 11, 10, got on the skateboard, instantly fell on my ass, and I was like, nope, not for me. I'm good. I'm good. I will watch people skateboard, and I will play video games and watch videos, but no, the actual thing, no, not at all. So Ollie World. I was super excited when this game got announced. I wasn't sure I was gonna like the new art style. So for y'all that have not played it, the original Ollie and Ollie 2 are basically these 2D side-scrolling skating games, and they're essentially kind of like run games. So like you have this stage, you have these set number of objectives that you got to do, or these points you got to meet, and then you get to the end of the run, and then you can do it again, and then as you meet those completions, you unlock more stage, and you kind of just go through. So this game is like that, but they actually added a story, which it was okay. It's about, you know, meeting these skate gods and doing all this and busting all the tricks. So pretty standard fare. I wasn't sure how they were gonna improve the gameplay from the first two games, but boy, did they do it. They've added different areas, I guess you can go. So on some stages you can hit the X button and you can go like left or right, and it'll take you to different parts of the stage. The tricks are better. The music is amazing. If you've played the first two games, it's like that lo-fi boom bappy rap type stuff. Like I have the whole Ollie 2 soundtrack as a playlist on Spotify. That's how great the music was for me.
Oh, wow.
This one is just as good, if not better. And then in this one, they actually add customization. So you can like create you a character, little 3D, semi-chibi, cell shaded character, and then go out there and then break your virtual bones so you don't have to do it in real life. But it's a very fun game. They do have 2 DLCs that are out that I would recommend because they give you different kind of areas and kind of different stage trappings and things to use. But it's honestly one of those games that it just feels good to play. Like, you know, sometimes you play video games, whether you play like online shooters, you know, Madden, 2K, FIFA, what have you, you kind of play them, you stress out. This is definitely a chill game that you feel like you're doing something, but you're also like relaxing. It's kind of like a video game meditation, I would say. But yeah, I would advise anybody who has not tried it or wants to try it, definitely buy it. I don't think it's that much. I think it's maybe $20, $25, maybe $30 if that, if it's not on sale. But yeah, my number one game that I've like loved the most out of any other game this year is Ollie World.
I would say I'm surprised, but knowing you, not really though. So it's not really too out of left field.
Yeah, I will also say this game, when it came out, was basically my melatonin every night. I went to sleep for like 2 months.
So I mean, like I said, you probably guessed after what my number 2 was. My number 1 is the game that you mentioned earlier. It's God of War Ragnarok. I mean, even when after the end of the 2018 game, considering what happens, you know, at the post credits or whatever, considering that Thor basically pops up at your front door, the expectations was already gonna be through the roof, because ain't no way that you can name the game after Ragnarok and not deliver. And to be honest with you, this game definitely delivered. Combat wise is basically, you know, 2018 just more polished. Once you learn how to switch, you know what I'm saying, between the blades and the axe, you know what I'm saying, in between combat, and learn how to exploit the enemy's weaknesses, oh yeah, like the combat definitely, you know what I'm saying, revs up to 10 after that. Story wise, so I love your interpretation of the story, because to be honest with you, Trey, it's annoyed me 90% of the game. I understand the motivations. I understand the fact that you are trying to prevent, you know, your father from dying. while also causing Ragnarok at the same time. Like, I get the motivation, but at the same time, though, he is definitely Kratos' son, because he will literally lie to Kratos, get mad at Kratos when he find out and chastise him about it, and then go off and lie and do the same thing without just telling him why he's like I said, I get it. We've all been teenagers. Cool. But our lives wasn't possibly leading to the end of the goddamn world either, you know what I'm saying? So
that's definitely true. That is definitely true.
I love the portrayal of like all the gods. Yo, Odin's a fool, you know what I'm saying? I love the way Odin is portrayed in this. You know, Thor, this is not your MCU version of Thor. Like none of the gods, to be honest. Like I said, combat is great.
Better.
I love the character design. He's like, what?
I said this Thor is better, and may I also add, he does aim for the head.
Yo, the beginning of the game will make you literally think that you did something horribly wrong, and I'll just leave it at that, because shout out to Thor in this game.
Mm-hmm.
That's really the only way you can describe it. But you know what I'm saying, just going between the different guys, and the fact that they did announce that this would be like the end of, you know, this particular storyline. Like I said, you haven't beat it, so it's only so much I will say. But if that is gonna be the case, wherever it goes, it'll be in good hands. You know what I'm saying? Just shout out to Freya, because if you know what happened to Baldur at 2018, her.
You want to talk about somebody who got some amazing character development in this game?
Yo, and honestly, that's really what made me make this number one. You know what I'm saying? Like, despite how annoying Atreus was, because like you said, you understand why he was doing it, but after a while, like, you kind of start like, all right, look, bro.
Yeah,
like we get it, but just be honest at the end of the day. But I do like the relationship and the dynamic between like Atreus and, you know what I'm saying, Mimir, and, you know, like the dynamic between like all the characters in general, though. It's just amazing to see how the relationships like progress from the 2018 game to this one. And if we being honest, you can't talk about character progression and not talk about your boy Kratos. Because when you think about the OG Kratos, you know what I'm saying, from the original trilogy to how he was in the 2018 game, and seeing how in this one he's basically literally doing everything he can to just like be a good dad and to keep his son from making basically the same mistakes that he made. Like I said, it's a simple story, but once you think of, once again, this is what I mean when I say when you're invested in characters, you know what I'm saying, you want to, this is the difference between like basically the end of Bayonetta 3 and how I felt about like this game. You see what I'm saying? Like this felt more inclined to like, you felt like you got a payout for being a part of the journey. I didn't really feel like I did that at the end of Bayonetta 3, but like at the end of this game though, considering like how the stories like went for all the main characters involved, like I don't want to say too much because you ain't like beat it, but it's just the fact that you feel like, okay, so whenever the next game come out, you can kind of see whenever it does start and everything kind of come back around, everybody will be in a different place. But like you said, it really wouldn't be no point for anybody to be losing powers at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody should be in a situation to where like when they come back, it'll be like great, because I actually enjoyed the time, you know what I'm saying, that you spent playing with Atreus by itself. Like I did like the split. Now sometimes it was kind of was away from Kratos a little bit too long. Oh yeah. Because after a while, it's like, all right, I'm tired of going around with Atreus. You getting on my nerve. But
picking fruit and stuff.
Man, say, don't even get me started on that.
But the boss fight is what saved that level. I will say that.
Oh, big facts. Because if it didn't, I would have been like, this makes me feel like chapter 13 of Final Fantasy 15. Oh no, 13. Yeah. Which one? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know.
But either way it go, fantastic game. Character development in the story was very well written. I can't understand the gripes that people do have about this game. puzzles. Oh my God. Now look, I know God of War has always had puzzles, but the unnecessarily difficult level of these puzzles on this game is ridiculous, especially because it'll happen in like a main mission or like either right after or right before a boss fight. And you literally can't advance until you figure out how to, because you know you'll probably have to like freeze a screw and then throw the yeah. But other than that though, easily my game of the year. I kind of had a feeling it was gonna be there when they announced it, and then like just playing it is what I mean. I'm pretty sure every time you saw me on my PS5, I was playing the exact same game, like every single time. So, and then you know the finishers, and just man, this game was just great. Like I said, I can't say too much because a lot of what I want to say is involved in stuff story wise, so I would just keep it to myself. But you know the guys, like certain people that you encounter, man, very very well done, man. Shout out to Christopher Judge, the voice of Kratos. He had a tall task replacing our boy TC Carson, aka you know what I'm saying, Kyle Barker from Living Single. But he definitely, this Kratos definitely feels different, you know what I'm saying, from like the original Kratos. And I think that's another reason why I like this one so much, is because you basically seeing this character basically grow up immature, even though, you know, he's a dead Spartan. So yeah, man, God of War Ragnarok is definitely my #1 game of 2022.
Also, one thing I read, and I'm not sure, well, you could probably tell, well, you may not remember. I read somewhere when this game, like a little while after this game came out, after people started beating it, that Kratos didn't call Atreus boy in this game.
Didn't. And I ain't even paid no attention.
I didn't either. I didn't notice until somebody says, like, you know what? You're right.
Yeah. You saw, no, you not, yeah. He didn't. The whole time.
Guess that
but
shows
once
growth.
again, even like little stuff like that is like progression, because like he literally called him that for 95% of like the first game, and now you know he basically is just calling him by his name. And you know the whole call me Loki or like I said, I get it. You know he's a teenager he's a teenage god trying to find himself and trying to prevent his dad from dying, and you know Odin starting Ragnarok. But yeah, man, shout out to Odin though, man. He was probably the MVP of that game right there, because he was a fool.
But that is our top 10 lists for 2022. As I said, me personally feel like it was a really good year for gaming, a very good preamble to what we would potentially be getting in 2023. Before we head out, do you have anything particularly looking forward to, or anything you want to see in this coming year?
Resident Evil 4 remake for sure, because that was one of my favorite. And it's just funny that people forgot that game originally came out on the GameCube. Yeah, like think about that. The fact that Resident Evil 4 was originally a GameCube exclusive. I don't know how you
could forget that, but I mean, you know, it's just we have a new generation of people that didn't play GameCube.
Exactly. So. It's to where it is now, and considering the fact that they said they're going to add more horror elements to it.
I mean, I think we saw it in the trailer when Ashley was being possessed by something about to shoot Leon. I was like, I don't think that was in the original.
Nah, it definitely wasn't. So, I mean, if it's anything like the Resident Evil 2 remake, just, you know, in the Resident Evil 4 world, it's going to be amazing. Just make the escort. That's my only concern. Yeah. Is, you know, escorting Ashley around. I ain't got time. And I know we talked about it, but like this AEW video game that's been in development for basically like almost 2 years now. We're supposed to get a release date this year, finally, hopefully, and I'm excited for it because one, it's the first AEW video game, and two, it's being made basically with the same engine as like the No Mercy and the Nintendo 64 games. So yeah, if it's anything like that, it kind of made me feel like it was, you know, playing, you know, WCW World Tour or something like that. Yeah, definitely looking forward to that. And Star Wars. Oh yeah. Jedi Fallen. Number 2, yeah. And the fact that we're gonna be, you know, double lightsabering it up this time. Yeah. I can't wait. So there's only a few that's been announced outside of typical, you know, Tekken and Street Fighter. But yeah, those are some of the main ones. What about you?
Me so far. of course, Octopath Traveler 2. I greatly enjoyed the first one. This one, the only thing I really want from this one, I don't care if it's like legit the same game just with different characters. I just want it to have a more cohesive story. The first one, it kind of did, but then again, it really didn't. And the only way that you got like that connective tissue is that you had to do this dungeon battle at the end of the game to get the true ending, where you basically had to fight all 8 of the main characters' bosses back to back without dying, then go fight the final boss, who has like 2 or 3 different, like I saw somebody literally stay up 2 days straight trying to beat that on Twitch when the game came out, and I was like, what? Yeah, I can't. I get it, but then again, I'm just like, nah, that's not for me. So hopefully, like, this game can have that too. I just want it to where it seems like you actually have a party of characters when you do their stories, but we'll see.
Right.
Other than that, Mega Man Battle Network. I was a fan of the original Battle Network games coming out, so now I'm happy that I'm able to play them on modern consoles and not through my PC through a app that allows me to play older games that I don't have on Game Boy Advance anymore. And then of course, I honestly think the big one I'm looking forward to, and again, I'm going into this one blind because I just want to play it without any that much further, know-how. Final Fantasy 16. From the brief stuff I've seen, I'm like, all right, gameplay looks good, story looks like something I would be into. I didn't really play 15 at all because I was just like, I'm probably sure it was a good story, but the whole boy band thing and driving and all that stuff is like, it didn't really seem my cup of tea. But this one seems to be more of kind of like the classic Final Fantasies, just in a more modern era with like, up-to-date graphics and everything. So it'll be interesting to see.
Somebody who worked on the combat for Devil May Cry 5 is working on this game. So that's also why the combat look like it does too.
Well, that's all you had to say then.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean to cut you off, but yeah, that's real important.
Oh yeah, but yeah, that's probably the big one so far I'm looking forward to. Then as you said, Street Fighter 6, ready to play that so I can actually have a reason to use this bad boy.
Raise the pinky, sir. Raise the pinky.
To use this bad boy besides playing old N64 fighting games to practice. But
have been playing Biofreaks?
Hey, look, Biofreaks was low-key kind of a sleeper hit. Like,
it was ahead of its time, to be honest with you.
It definitely was. It definitely was. But so far that's all I'm looking forward to. As I said, I know we'll get more stuff as the year goes out. Some surprise drops. Like I said, I think this is going to be the first full year since the pandemic hit that we'll get like the full ability to have games come out like they were supposed to. So This is probably what like 2019 2020 should have been game release wise, but now they've had time to kind of acclimate and the world is somewhat back to normal from before. So this will definitely be a very interesting year. Before we get out of here, you have any closing comments or words you would like to say?
No, man, like always, I appreciate the invite doing this every year, and the fact that once again we just like to tell people that we have no idea we'll be on each other's list at all.
Exactly, at all.
I mean, as you can probably tell, even just from the top 10, because I mean I'm pretty that number 1, I wouldn't have had that on my list at all. So but yeah, this is always fun. It's always a good time, and yeah, I'm just looking forward to another good year of gaming because I'm pretty sure we're probably both gonna be broke. Video games this year, so. But yeah, man, like I said, just always, man, it's always a good time, and yeah, man, I can't wait because I might go finish out all these missions on Crisis Core.
Exactly. All right, well, like I said, I do appreciate you joining me. Y'all make sure to go follow Dom and his channel, Euphoric Trip. I would be sure to leave his links down below. Y'all let me know what are y'all top 10 games down below in the comments. It'd be interesting to see what y'all like and what y'all play this year, and then we'll see y'all next video. Peace.